This program is sponsored by Flight Training College, George, South Africa, where flying is our passion. Up, the long, delirious burning blue. I've topped the wind-swept heights with easy grace, where never lark nor ever eagle flew. And while with silent lifting mind I've trod the high, untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand and touched the face of God.
Many people have experienced a takeoff in an airliner as a passenger, but not many have experienced a takeoff from the prime position on the flight deck. We recently had the opportunity to take the cameras on board the flight deck on an actual flight to Johannesburg. Sit back as we talk you through the takeoff. Waiting for the parameters to stabilize. Takes about 30 seconds or so. Number 3 and number 4 engines starting. And then after the start, we do the after start checks, followed by a checklist, and then tell the ground engineer to remove all his ground equipment before we start the taxi. Taxi clearance, quick brake check, just to make sure the aircraft can come to a quick halt if we need it to. And on the ground we taxi the aircraft with a tiller, especially in confined areas. The aircraft is quite large, so quite difficult to taxi on confined taxiways. We do the before takeoff checklist before we get our takeoff clearance from the tower controller.
Runway 01, so remote 346.
Okay, clever takeoff and blow the line please.
Below the line. Engine start selector.
Normal.
Facts.
On. Before takeoff checklist is now complete, we have got takeoff clearance from the air traffic controllers. Lining up on the runway now and taking thrust, stabilizing the engines, making sure they develop the full thrust for takeoff. Very important that all the engines spool up together. And checking the parameters. Engine parameters are normal. Acceleration is normal.
Takeoff thrust.
At this stage, if we pick up any problems, we can reject the takeoff and come to a stop in the runway length remaining.
100 knots. 6.
After V1, we'll have to continue into the air with the problem and sort out whatever emergencies we have and return for landing. We're now committed to flight.
Rotate.
Comes back. The nose pitches into the air and the aircraft lifts off.
What's the climb?
Landing gear retracted. And the tower controller hands us over to the departure radar controller before we do the after takeoff checks. Flying the aircraft manually before we put the autopilot in.
Oh, nice.
And the after takeoff checklist.
Checked. That's 0.
Now this is living. Yeah?
This is nice. This is so nice.
And turning out right, setting course for Johannesburg.
Checked.
This is an actual live approach into Johannesburg, runway 03 right, on a beautiful, clear winter's evening. The landing gear has just been lowered. It takes a few seconds for the landing gear to lock in the extended position. At this stage, the autopilot is still in. We have two autopilots. Only one autopilot will be in here with the auto thrust engaged as well. And at this stage, we're just going through the procedures before completing the landing checklist. The radio altimeter just came alive with a 2,500 feet call. That's just to alert us to the proximity to the ground. And the landing checklist, please.
Landing checklist.
Cabin ready.
Auto thrust.
Speed.
ECAM memo.
Landing no blue.
Landing checklist completed.
With the landing checklist completed,
Standing by landing clearance.
we're just standing by for the landing clearance. With the landing clearance, the air traffic controllers will give us the wind. And the aircraft is still being flown by the autopilot, making sure that we do have a stabilized approach, and also taking the pressure off us, especially in conditions when the weather is bad. As you can see now, we can see the runway quite clearly. The aircraft will be stabilized now.
1,000. Approach. Stable.
At 1,000 foot call is our gate to ensure that the aircraft is in a stabilized configuration, being stable in speed and on the glide slope, as well as all the checklists completed. Winds from the left to the right, 5 knots. And the autopilot will be. Autopilot is coming out. The autopilot is now being disconnected. Cat 1. And the aircraft is now flown manually.
500.
That's 500 feet above the ground. Runway becoming nice and clear now.
400.
The lights to the left and the right of the runway are the precision approach path indicators,
300.
showing whites and red lights, showing that we on the approach path. That's the minimum call if the cloud base was low. 100 feet.
50. 40.
Starting
30,
the flare
20.
and throttling back. That's the touchdown. That's manual touchdown, and nose wheel will be coming down.
Reverse green. Negative decel.
And nose wheel touchdown. Thank you. The aircraft is now using reverse thrust to slow down, as well as manual braking. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for flying South African Airways.
This program was brought to you by Flight Training College, George, South Africa, where flying is our passion.